Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Welcome to Benney Babbles. My name is Benney, and this is where I babble. And tonight, I'm going to talk to a special guest who is Matthew Rose. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Hey, Geraint, how are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad.
Good to see you.
Welcome to Benney Babbles.
No, thanks for having me. Happy to be here. Looking forward to it.
Oh, good, good. Now, for those of you, for those watching that don't know who Matthew is, Matthew owns Dark Wales Tours, and you're based in South Wales, yeah, Matt?
Yeah, so South Wales primarily at the moment, where we conduct ghost tours, various sites. So looking at St Fagans and Cardiff Castle primarily. So we sort of explore the vast history of the sites. You're looking at the ghost stories, what people have experienced, visitors, guests, staff, and what we ourselves also have picked up on over the years as well. So it's really interesting, really great fun to do.
Yeah, it sounds it as well. Now, you're a bit of a tour aficionado. Is that the right word? I'm talking.
Yeah, go with that. I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah, because you also work at the Royal Mint Experience as well.
Yeah, so we're working there for a few years as well now, doing the tours there too. So that's it's great to sort of engage with lots of different people and talk to people and just hear people's backgrounds. I love talking to people and love hearing people's stories. So that's what kind of inspires me. So it's great delivering the tours, but it's great to hear back off the people as well, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I suppose that they tell you things that they've got nothing to do because they feel like your friend as well, don't they? Really,
absolutely. Yeah, you're learning all the time. So when I'm touring, obviously, I love sharing my passion for the subject, whether it be the ghosts or the history side of things as well. But it's hearing people's experiences as well. So hearing their sort of stories, what they've picked up on, and their history too, which is goes hand in hand, I think.
Has anything sort of supernatural happened while you've been out on any of your tours?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the time it's actually the guests themselves and when my colleagues who experience things, because I find a lot of the time I'm so quite immersed in the storytelling that I might sometimes miss what's actually going on around me.
Yeah.
But I have had my fair sort of share of experiences as we've gone along. But what I always say to the guests on the tours, and sort of great mantra to myself as well, a lot of the time, the majority of the time, in fact, when people think that experiencing something paranormal, it can easily be explained. So you sort of old buildings, for example, they will make these characteristic moans and groans as they settle at night in your house, pipes expanding. So, but it's the small percentage then where sort of intrigue enters and makes you think, makes you question. And through Cardiff Castle and St Fagans in particular, we've had that in spades over the years. So people experiencing all manner of things, from just like small lights, for example, to full sort of bodied figures people have picked up on and seen over the years.
Wow, that's amazing.
For myself, the major thing I sort of pick up on is feelings, if you like. So how often you can go into a room or a building, you may have been in that room countless times before, but on certain occasions, then you just feel something's off, just feel something's different, there's something there.
Yeah, I've felt that myself. I went on holidays in Tenby, and in one of the shops as you're going down to the harbour kind of thing, one of the big tall buildings, I'd gone in there, and I just had this uneasy feeling all the way around, and it was making me. As soon as I left, it went away, and then I went back in as if but it just felt like there was somebody sitting, just standing behind me.
That's it. Just picking up on those things. But it's funny you actually mentioned Tenby, because that was probably where personally I had one of my first sort of experiences when I thought, well, hang on now, something's going on here. I remember I was a young lad at the time, must have been 7, 8 perhaps.
Yeah.
We were down in Tenby, a little family holiday. We were staying in a place called Ivy Cottage, and it's still there now. Beautiful place from the outside, at least, anyway, until we get into it. So we were down there, sort of mother, father, grandparents. As soon as we sort of walked in, we could just, all of us straight away, could sense that there was something not right about the place. There's something quite eerie, quite sort of sinister. We were quite overwhelmed by that. And I think it was on maybe, could have been the 3rd or the 4th night. I remember I was sleeping, woke up in the middle of the night, terrified, just an overwhelmed feeling of terror and an icy cold chill. And as a young lad, just didn't know what's going on, sort of thing. I was trying to wake up, sort of adjusting my eyes. Of course, your eyes will sort of naturally play tricks in the dark.
Yeah.
As I was starting to focus, I could see at the end of the bed a sort of outline, a shadowy figure. And you're thinking, no, it can't be real. But the more I stared, I could see vaguely resembling like the shape of a man, a figure of a man. Flicked the light on immediately. You can imagine. Thankfully, when the light was on, there was nothing there. But you can imagine, raced straight to my parents' room, told them what was going on, reassured me, oh, you're just dreaming. There's nothing to worry about. Went back to sleep. Didn't think nothing of it for years. But then I remember after that night, we had to leave in the morning. I can't remember the reason, but we had to leave sort of suddenly, if you like. Years later then, turns out, speaking to my father, that same night, after I'd gone back to sleep, he got up in the middle of the night, early hours of the morning. He was in the bathroom, he said. As he was coming out of the bathroom, he saw a figure drifting down the hallway and disappearing.
Oh, shit. I've got goosebumps.
He obviously didn't tell me as a kid. For years, I didn't want to scare me or terrify me, but it was only like 10 years ago or so, he actually told me what he experienced that same night.
Wow.
But it was literally everybody there. My grandparents, we all sensed something.
Oh, wow.
And that's probably, like I say, one of my earlier experiences of that sort of thing.
And at 7 years of age as well, it's bound to. It's no wonder it sparked your interest, really, because
exactly, it was just from that age, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I've had experiences, but nothing to that. It's more just feelings, not actually seeing things, but more just feelings.
Yeah,
but to see something is. I don't know what I would do. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of people
myself.
Exactly. People say, I want to see a ghost. They really want to see a ghost. So when they do see something there and they think, God, what, run a mile sort of thing. But it's one of those things, isn't it? But since that, though, and I always say on the tours as well, I'm quite rational now. It's hard to explain what I saw back then. But a lot of the times, if I think, whether I'm at St. Fagans or Cardiff Castle, if I think I see things, I often rationalise now. I think, well, no. But there's still been some occasions where I've had to even say, well, hang on now. That's how do you explain what I've just seen here, sort of thing. But
that's crazy. That is, and that's what interests me. Like I said earlier before we came on, I was planning on coming on one of your tours this summer.
Yeah,
so hopefully, fingers crossed, October, you'll be able to get back to work, and I'll be.
So with the unfortunate crisis at the moment, we've had to sort of put the tours on hold. They will be back, of course, but we're looking at probably October, November time. So sort of get back in Cardiff Castle and St. Fagans.
In a way, nice dark nights.
That's it then, isn't it? So we did used to run them through the summer anyway, but the difference there was we couldn't start the tours till sort of later at night, so it'd be light until 10. So we're starting sort of 10 o'clock, and tours will go on a little bit into the night then. But with the winter, like you say, perfect atmosphere. You can start a bit earlier in the night and still get that same atmosphere and intrigue.
That's why I put this background on tonight. You see the mist and
looking good. Good job of it,
right?
But when we start back up, we should definitely come on one of them.
I definitely am. Now, have you heard of a man called Alan Wilson?
No, I don't think I have.
No, he's a historian, Welsh historian. He is, and but it's a sort of alternative Welsh history. The reason I mention Alan Wilson is because I think you'd find it quite interesting, especially on a tour kind of thing, because it's not just
absolutely. So a lot of, like I say, a lot of the tours, first and foremost, is the history side of things. We sort of delve into the history, sort of the previous owners of the castle of Cardiff Castle, for example, and the St. Fagans. What's the beauty of St. Fagans? You've got all the different buildings that have come from all over Wales. So you've got the uniqueness of the buildings. Each building has its own story, but you've also got the site itself, because it was actually years before the museum was ever established there. There was that Battle of St. Fagans was fought, 1648, the part of the English Civil War.
Right.
So you've got the area itself is steeped in history, and you've also got the history of all the buildings as well. So it's an incredible sight, especially at night being there. That's absolutely incredible.
Well, it's one of my favourite places to go in the daytime. I love visiting
Yeah,
St.
you can
Pagans
spend hours
because
in the day. And
I always sort of see something that I've missed, if you know what I mean, because there's so much to see.
that's
You
it,
can't see everything at the first time
yeah.
round. So, but to go round there at night,
Well, I always say on the tours, we've all been there during the day, but at night it literally is a complete different world. The atmosphere, you walk down those wooded lanes, those dark wooded lanes at night, is absolutely incredible. And was quite spooky as well, especially in the dark winter nights. Before we start the tours, we always do a little recce of the site itself. So we'll always walk the route just to make sure it's sort of safe. If it's been rain, that sort of thing, we try and find alternate routes. So we're walking down these dark wooded lanes all alone. Not so bad when you're with a bit of a group, but when you're walking alone, your mind races, it plays tricks. But yeah, it's incredible. The privilege to be able to do them there.
So because of obviously you've had a break throughout the summer, you've started this as well.
It was a good something to be thinking about for a long time. So the podcast stories we started last weekend. We launched the first episode focusing on the death omens of Wales. So with the podcast, we're trying to sort of explore the whole of Wales. So some of the places we probably won't physically be able to do a tour in. But yeah, so something, maybe places off the beaten track, that sort of thing. But sort of to share so much history, sort of myths, legends of Wales, just trying to share that with the world, if you like. And the podcast.
Yeah. And that's where Alan Wilson sort of popped into my mind. And I thought, I wonder if you've heard of Alan Wilson. I'll send you a link to some of his work. He can be a little bit, how can you... strong-minded, but he's just passionate about what he does. And but yeah, I'll send you a link to that. So the podcast, where can people get your podcast?
So we've launched it on various platforms. You can get it on Apple Podcasts. We got it on Deezer. We've got it on. It will be eventually come to Spotify as well. You can listen through the website. So trying to get it out there, many different places, so people can get a chance to have a little listen. We're hoping to do another episode every sort of fortnightly. So we'll release them fortnightly. Then they will focus on, like I said, different aspects of Welsh folklore. So you'll have a sort of basis, if you like, might focus on a certain building or castle of Wales, but we'll compare then sort of other cultures' beliefs as well. So we bed that in as well. So what we believe in Wales, our ancestors' sort of beliefs, and we compare that to what other cultures and folklores of other countries sort of believe in as well.
At the same time as...
Yeah, so like I said, people have believed in, obviously, the paranormal and supernatural for centuries, haven't they? Since mankind can remember, really.
And I suppose it's always been a big part of Welsh history as well.
Exactly, steeped in history, going back as far as the Mabinogion, of course, the stories, Welsh mythology. And it actually surprises me how far Welsh mythology actually spreads around the world anyway, because even in sort of areas you wouldn't expect it to. So for example, you may have, I don't know if you've come across, actually a 1985 Disney film called The Black Cauldron.
Oh, yes, yeah.
You heard of that?
Yes.
Well, that's actually based on a series of books by a man named Lloyd Alexander, and he based those stories on the Mabinogion, so the short stories of Mabinogion. So the premise of the film back then, it wasn't much of a success. It was deemed a bit dark for the children, but the premise was the Black Cauldron sort of held the power to resurrect the dead. So you throw your bodies in, cauldron and resurrect them. You have the army of the dead then serving you your every need and purpose, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's actually it was Mickey Mouse, wasn't it?
No, that's what are you thinking of?
Oh no, I was thinking of Fantasia. Is it Fantasia?
That's Fantasia, yeah. It's like
thinking of no, right. I remember which one you. Right, yes, I remember the Black Cauldron now. Yeah,
but there's talk of remaking it. I don't know what's happening. That would remake everything these days, don't they?
They do.
I'm surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, because they try it because they're doing it with sort of CGI now, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah. So kind of sort of run out of ideas, haven't they?
I think they have. Now, I watched The Jungle Book. Have you seen the first Jungle Book? Yeah. And I quite enjoyed it, but it's just it did. I can't bear to watch the Lion King because it's just I want to remember it as it was. If you know what I mean.
You can't tamper with the classics, can you? Really?
No.
That's all you're going to see now. That's all they're doing, aren't they? So
yeah, it's either
Little Mermaid is next, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's either an action, a comic book film or remake.
Yeah, that's all you see. That's all out there. You're back to the old horror stories, I think, and ghost stories. They should be making more of them, shouldn't they?
They should, instead of going for go for a proper story that's going to...
I think they lost a lot of that, haven't they? The sort of raw storytelling and just focusing on the big effects. And they lost that aspect, which is the sort of most important part, really, can you?
It is. It is. You know, if you can use people's emotions in a film, then, but when it's just fear all the time, because it's just gore, it doesn't, you know, it's just fear then. But I like that suspense. It makes me...
Well, it's like those classics that sort of inspired me again with the going back to the ghost as well. Sort of literature as well. One of my favorite books, Woman in Black. I don't know if you've ever read that. And they obviously done the film version as well, which is okay. But the book itself is everything you want in a ghost story. So you got the suspense, the sort of the slow burn, the build up, then, and obviously equally terrifying moments as well.
I'm not a. It's not that I'm not a big fan of horror. It's because I think. How can I explain it?
You're scared too easy, do you?
Yeah. I do. And I remember watching The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, brilliant.
And my friends, right, we got The Sixth Sense. I said, look, I'm not going to come up tonight, like, because it had a thing about it anyway, didn't it? That it was scary, and I'm like, look, I don't like being scared. Like, I got to go home and go to sleep tonight.
I don't know how you're going to fare on one of the ghost stores then. Yeah.
I've got stronger. I've got stronger.
I hope you'll be running for the fences.
And I literally hid. I must have been in my 20s, but I hid behind a pillow all the way through it, and it's just. I don't know. I suppose I'm a delicate soul.
You wouldn't do too well with some of these newer ones. You've been recently watching The Conjuring, Annabelle, all that sort of thing.
Oh yeah,
which, no, they're not too bad. They're quite good. They're sort of jumpy moments as well. But don't think it'd be up your street in that case.
I wouldn't sleep for a fortnight.
No, I would sleep with a light on.
Yeah, I do that anyway. No, I don't really. Not anymore.
You do.
It's a little plug now. So it's obviously it's a passion of yours as well, and I suppose that's it comes across in your perform, because it is. I suppose it's a performance you give in.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say,
isn't it?
Yeah, growing up, always sort of the passion for history, and we love to be scared, don't we, in general? So I remember early on in life, I loved the Goosebump books as well.
Yeah,
they're still around today, and obviously the series Goosebumps as well. So that's probably my earliest sort of memory of sort of horror in book or film, if you like. Then and the area I grew up in as well. So Kenfig, the history around, steeped in history. So down the road, we got the sort of Scare House, the infamous story of the Maid of Scare, the haunting there. You got the Prince of Wales pub up the road, which is alleged to be one of the most haunted pubs in Wales, and Markham Castle, not too far as well. So all those places right on your doorstep, the history and obviously the paranormal has been experienced there over the years. It's been sort of embedded in me from a young age, if you like that.
Is there any way sort of in Wales that you'd like, that is quite hard, like you said, you're doing the podcast and you're going to talk about different places in Wales that are quite hard for you to get to, but is there any one of those places that you'd think, I'd really, really like to do it, but it's just, there's a lot of incredible sites. North Wales, for example, it'd be probably a bit far to venture for a tour, obviously, from South Wales. So you've got places like Conway Castle, Carnarvon Castle, places like that. More local, we would
love to do it in Caerphilly Castle. So I'd like to be working there. We were actually lucky enough to be in Caerphilly St. David's Day this year. So we were invited there to do some sort of sessions, short stories, again, about the history and what's been experienced there. So that was a great success, but that was literally right in the midst of the unfortunate pandemic. So we got, hopefully be able to do something in Caerphilly in the future. We have done them in Margam in the past, but hopefully we were looking to put in Margam out as a tour this year. But again, unfortunately, we had to sort of put that in the back burner. But we will be certainly doing Margam early next year as an additional tour. You've been to Margam? Yeah,
I have, a long time ago, in my younger days, but not for a long time.
That's probably one of the scariest places you could be again at night. Oh, it's absolutely terrifying.
Again, luckily I wasn't there at night, but again, it's something that I really like to do.
Yeah,
and because I believe you need to put yourself in positions like that sometimes, and just because it wakes you up.
Yeah. Well, you won't be saying that when you're in there. We've had people leaving. We've had people had to leave in tears some nights because they've been so terrified. And similarly, on all the tours, we've had occasions where people have been so sort of overwhelmed. People had to leave.
Yeah, well, that was going to be one of my next questions. Really, is has there anything sort of people freaked out that much that that they've had to leave? Where was that? Where is the scariest place?
So, well, you can say St. Fagans first of all, and you've got one building there in particular, which is sort of rife with paranormal occurrences. People have experienced more in this one building than anywhere else. And we've had countless people had to leave because they've been overwhelmed. And it can be a variety of things. Like some people just get this overwhelming fear that there's a presence standing in front of them. They can just feel as if something, you can imagine now sitting there, if somebody's just literally got their face. When somebody comes up to you and somebody's standing right in front of you, you got it. That's what they feel. And a lot of the time people naturally assume, well, one of their friends messing about or somebody's trying to play a trick. Torches go on then. They see there's nobody in the area. Got to leave straight away. We've had people being sort of jabbed, poked, grabbed. Sort of their arms have been squeezed. The back of their necks have been grabbed with sort of icy cold hands. And we always say on the tours, our tours, they're not sort of ghost hunts. They're not paranormal investigations. We don't stage anything at all. And like I say, we don't try to convert people to the idea of ghosts. We don't try and convince people that ghosts are real. We just let it sort of play out. And if things happen, they are genuinely sort of happening. They're not staging anything. And what I love about it is when you get your skeptics on the tour. Don't believe in ghosts sort of thing and all the nonsense. Just here for the history, that sort of thing. It's when they start having experiences then and their reactions is brilliant. Just to hear them. Start of the night thinking, no, I don't believe it. End of the night then, well, I don't know, not so much anymore.
And as you know, majority of it you can quite easily explain it's wind or it's different things. But a friend of mine who I spoke to about a month ago, Chris, he does an online sort of ghost story.
Okay, yeah.
And you get the family round or you get him in different places, and he does this ghost story. But because he's a sort of mentalist and things as well, so it's been obviously carefully worded, but shit happens to you when you're in your house, like. but it is, but it's all just down to your imagination.
It's perception is. It's like
it is.
What do they say to the true believer? No proof is necessary. To the skeptic, no proof is possible. It's how you sort of look at these things, isn't it?
It is.
In the dark, especially, as human beings, we're sort of programmed to see shapes and figures in the dark. So you've got to rationalize. I say a lot of the time, you can sensibly explain it, but I say there are those occasions then that will make you think, oh, hang on now.
No, it can't be.
See that? That's not real.
That wasn't real.
There was another occasion in Cardiff Castle, actually, and one particular room, the banqueting hall, so the largest room in Cardiff Castle, been sightings for years. These go back decades of sightings of a lady a figure sort of in a plain sort of grey dress, if you like.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
So even going back when they used to have a sort of custodian on site, going back where they used to have a custodian up until the 1980s, the family back then, they all experienced this sort of grey lady, people on the tours, the staff. And it was one night doing the tours, telling the story in the banqueting hall, very atmospheric. I sort of see a group to my right, sort of chatting nervously, sort of fidgeting a bit, and I always make sure the guests are okay, obviously. And I say, "Are you okay, guys?" And they say, "We can see something moving in the doorway behind you." So I thought, well, okay, keep an eye on that now. So I carried on telling the stories. I could then just sort of sense something as well. So I just literally glanced over my shoulder and I saw that sort of shadowy figure then walk across the same sort of entrance way that the group had seen. Now, personally, I wouldn't have said, I couldn't define whether it was a lady in grey or anything else, but it was certainly a shadowy figure. And there's nobody in the castle on the nights we do the tours apart from ourselves and the security, of course. So, yeah, so that's probably one of the more scarier rooms of Cardiff Castle as well.
Yeah. I've because she's quite a famous character, I suppose. I think I've got a book here somewhere of old Welsh that I've had for years, and she, her stories in there, and but I met somebody quite a long time ago I used to work with, and they'd said that they'd seen her there as well. But you still go, yeah, okay.
This is a difficult one, isn't it? You don't know, do you? Like say, do you write it off as your imagination, or are you actually really seeing things? And I briefly mentioned it in the first episode of the podcast last week, sort of thing. Years ago, when people sort of seen these things, whether it be sort of balls of light or misty figures, you imagine how they would have felt, our ancestors hundreds of years ago, without the sort of. We're so reliant these days, aren't we, on technology to explain the world? But just imagine back then, people just 100% believed in it. These days, we tend to write it off, don't we? We think, well, got to be something logical there.
It's got to be something logical. But but that back then, I suppose they accepted it, and that it was the world of supernatural to them.
That's it. And it's going back to as you mentioned earlier, the sort of folklore of the history of Wales. It's those experiences back then, which is sort of been embedded into our psyche over the years and passed down to the generations, is why we sort of are living in such a incredible country, to have all that history, the folklore, which has transcended the ages, if you like. Then and we still believe in.
Exactly. We still believe in, and like you said, it's transcended to other parts of the world. The myths of sort of Merlin and King Arthur and all things like that as well. Even though they got to do with other parts of the country as well. I think, but
it's still got their roots in Wales as well.
Still got its roots in Wales, and then the standing stones.
Yeah.
From Pwllheli all the way
down. How they do that? That was
because I think a couple of years ago, I think they tried to reenact it and try and do it, but it just
I seen that. It was on there's a little, I don't know if you've been watching this Tidder's TV flashback.
Yes. I've been on I'm on there.
I seen it. I was going to tell you the old sprout obsession, wasn't it? You kept that one quiet, didn't you? You still on the sprouts now?
No. Turned to celery now.
Probably for the best, isn't it?
Yeah, I lost too many friends.
Oh, I can imagine. That's why you do podcasts now, with the safety behind your screen.
Exactly. They don't have to put up. They don't have to be locked in a room with me.
The celery is a safer option than that.
Much safer.
But, like you're saying, but they done. I seen it on there, the clip where they were, I said, reenacting moving those stones. But hell of a task, wasn't it?
It was a hell of a task, and the thing is, where they are now, Stonehenges now, that was put there. I think it was the 1950s, because it was just down the road originally. So really, it's like a mile down the road. Real Stonehenges, but again, it's how they've sold us history. So, and that goes back to our Alan Wilson, what I was talking about earlier. It's he sort of got an alternative look on how Welsh history is portrayed in like the Mabinogion as tales, but a lot he's saying something. No, I can prove to you that it's the real kind of thing.
All right,
They come from a real source. So it's it is quite interesting.
What's good about history, isn't it? So delve into history. You can you've got your facts, which are there written in stone, if you like them, but it's always good to question things yourself and sort of make your own sort of conclusions and analogies, if you like, as well. So that's what's incredible.
As we know, over the years, it's always the winner of any kind of battle writes the history of it.
Exactly.
So it doesn't necessarily, correspond to what we know.
As America,
as America has proved to us now with Christopher Columbus and the like.
That's what I love, sort of when we're researching the tours as well, and obviously the podcast as well. Now he's coming up with some sort of gems of sort of history, little facts and things which people may not necessarily know about, and obviously get that sort of message out there. The passion, share that passion with others.
Exactly, and I love history. It's something you learn from history.
Yeah,
and that's something that I've always really loved. It's the only GCSE I got.
Didn't fare too well with the rest of you.
I didn't do any. I only done my GCSE.
Good job. We didn't do a cookery GCSE. Those sprouts will spring up again.
Well, I done my cooking badge in the Scouts though.
Oh, so, got something to show there.
Yeah, I went back and done them later, but it was the only one that I left school with. But history is a very important. I think history is a very important subject, and it's especially in a country like we are.
Yeah,
we've got Welsh history has sort of got lost in British history.
It has, yeah. So sort of with the idea of the podcast as well, hopefully people all around the world will get the chance to sort of see that as well. So not just it's obviously great in Wales to hear the stories of your past and that, but a lot of countries around the world as well. It'd be nice to sort of realize that we are sort of Wales as a country as well, of course, and not just lost in the annals, like you say, British history itself.
Because that's what's basically happened in the midst of time. We've just got lost into British history, where our history is so rich and vibrant as well. If we look back at it, it's incredible. It's
fascinating when you think things you got on your doorstep. Cardiff Castle, for example, the actual stone keep on the top of the mound there. William the Conqueror's eldest son actually was imprisoned and died in there. In that castle, is a sort of ironic sort of turn of events, if you like, again.
Yeah.
When William the Conqueror died, the eldest son obviously naturally would assume the throne, but he's actually out of the country at the time. So his younger brother went on to sort of usurp the throne, if you like, then became William II. And when he died, an even younger brother then took the throne, who went on to be Henry I. So he's out of the country again. So he lost the throne sort of on 2 occasions. So Henry then, sort of not wanting his older brother to sort of challenge his throne, if you like, threw him in Cardiff Castle, threw him in the keep, and that's where he spent the remainder of his years. And as I say, researching the history of the castle for the tour to come up with that sort of gem is just incredible.
Yeah, because it's again, it's a big part of history and how we got to where we are now, and it's Cardiff Castle, the centre of Cardiff.
Yeah, you wouldn't think, would you, all that sort of history right in the middle of the city centre?
Yeah, and you think about it back then, it was only a small sort of, it was the castle and it was a farmland really.
Yeah, well, it was
and bog, and
that's it. It was the Bute family that sort of put it on the map, really.
Yeah,
became the largest importer of coal at one point, from the creation of Cardiff Docks. So the Bute family, Marquis of Bute, created the Cardiff Docks. So it meant the sort of the coal and the iron ore be brought down from the valleys and shipped off from Cardiff Docks across the empire. So it's from there, really, then starting to build and grow the city as we know it today.
And as you just said, basically, Wales helped build the empire. We paved it without we paid for it without coal.
Really, blood, sweat, and tears.
Totally, and I think we can ask him for some of that money back now.
I think so.
Remember that money we lent you?
Yeah, we want that back now.
Build your empire. Can we have it back, please?
Yeah. Times are hard now. Send it back.
Yeah, we need it back. Sorry, yeah. Just give it to us in gold instead. Look at it.
Yeah, a couple of gold bars.
Oh, well, Matthew, thanks so much for coming on the show tonight.
No, thank you for having me.
It's been great. And once, obviously, you're back up and running again, I'm going to come on a tour. And and then we'll have another chat. And you can tell everyone how petrified I was.
Yeah, no, you'll be fine, I'm sure. We will look after you there. But they show a few horror films first to just prime yourself, get ready.
Prime myself up again, is it?
You'll be fine.
I have to get the Omen out or something like that.
Yeah, go with The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Ease yourself in with The Exorcist.
Yeah, and the original as well.
Yeah, no messing about.
Got to be the original. Again, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no, absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No, pleasure has been all mine. If people want to, book onto the onto your tours when they start, where can they find you?
Yeah, so we got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and we got a website, www.darkwalestours.co.uk. You can find us on Instagram, Dark Wales Tours, Twitter, Dark Wales as well. So available to book hopefully from sort of October, November time then. So the website is where you'll do your booking.
Excellent. And obviously look out for Matthew's podcast as well. And it's on iTunes. No, iTunes. No, not iTunes.
Apple podcast at the moment. We will be launching them on more and more as time goes by.
But look for it. I said to you earlier, I was listening to it in work, I had my headphones in and I'm listening to it. And I'm like, I got lost because my mate, he was like, "Are you going to do some work?" I had just stopped and I was just listening.
Glad you enjoyed it. No, thanks for listening.
I did. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait for the next one. And talking about the next one, I'm not sure when the next Benney Babbles is. It'll be in the next week. I know I've got Barry from Jack's live music venue coming up soon. And I got a couple of other people, but it's just sorting them out. But until then, it's a goodbye from me.
Cheers, guys.
It's a goodbye from Matt, and shall speak to you all soon. Ta-ra.
Diolch yn fawr. Hwyl fawr.